Hey guys, Nicole here, and I have another process video. This page is featured on the Scrap Your Scraps blog today, and with my post today, I kind of wanted to just discuss something that I do a lot, and I think people tend to maybe limit themselves or be too scared to do this, and it's a very simple thing, and it's scrap lifting. The only thing that I would say is when you scrap lift, you always want to remember to, especially when posting online, to give credit back to the person that you either were inspired by, or like in this case, I am very heavily lifting one of Jen Gallagher's, or Gallagher, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but one of her pages. And I am obsessed with her videos on YouTube. I really like her style, and a lot of times when I find myself sort of, halfway or maybe towards the end of a kit and I have scraps left and I kind of just don't know what I want to do with it, or I don't have a sketch that I feel like would work with it, I go with scrap lifting. And it gives me an opportunity to, one, use up what's left in my kit in maybe a different way than I would normally use it, and two, I can kind of try on somebody else's style and maybe learn a few things that I can incorporate into maybe things that I create myself from scratch. And the page that I decided to scrap lift from her, you can see it on my phone and I showed it at the beginning of the video. I chose it because my kit came with those really pretty flowers, and I have a hard time using florals on my pages just because I tend to shy away from bulky embellishments. So I had remembered from watching her videos that she does use bulky embellishments occasionally. So I went through some of her videos on YouTube and I found this one, and I loved everything about it. So I decided to use it because I felt like I could scrap lift it easily and be able to use my own supplies, which in this case were from my July kit from 3 Scrappy Boys. And to me, it's fun to take something that somebody else created and, one, see, was it as easy to create as they show in their videos, and a lot of times it is. And in this case, like, I learned a way to use a bulkier embellishment, and I finally cut into that jelly bean soup placemat that I had been hoarding because I just wasn't really sure how to use it. And when I saw her sort of die cut piece that she had on her page, I instantly thought of that. And then different areas of the page kind of had different levels of sort of how far I scrap lifted her page. And that just kind of comes out naturally when I personally am sort of working with maybe an inspiration piece or something that I told myself, oh, I want to scrap lift this. And it just kind of works itself out as I'm working through it. Like, the lower right hand portion of her page had this awesome text paper, and I didn't have anything close to it. And I was kind of trying to stick to my kit from 3 Scrappy Boys because this was part of my design team stuff for this month. So I grabbed this Hero Arts sort of newspaper print and then just some pink ink from Mama Elephant, and I was kind of able to make my own text paper that perfectly coordinated with the supplies that I was using. And then I got really lucky that the size of the stamped image sort of fit that corner perfectly, and I had sort of intentionally trimmed that gray cardstock piece a little bit wider and overlapped my placemat piece just in case I needed the extra room in order to trim it down, which in this case I did. So I got really lucky that that stamped image fit, because when I first sat down I should have measured that first and kind of worked maybe from that corner around the other way. But for whatever reason, I was drawn to those floral elements to begin with. That was sort of how I found this page to scrap lift. So in my brain, that was just kind of where I started. I started in the upper left and I went clockwise around the page. The lower left part of the page is kind of maybe the least or the lowest level of scraplifting that I did on her page. And it was mostly just my photo was different size. The supplies that I was using wasn't really going to work. The overall sort of flow of the page, it just wasn't going to work. So I ended up just kind of setting that area of the page aside while I'm working on stuff, and I just kind of knew in the back of my mind I'm going to treat it as like a mini page and just kind of embellish it however I want to, and it ended up working well. And here I'm still following her page very closely and trimming up some banner pieces, and then I was just kind of going through the supplies that I had left and just kind of keeping that yellow section of the page kind of in the back of my mind what I wanted to do. I really liked how hers looked, but I just kind of knew that my photo was sized differently. I didn't really have anything that I had pulled out that I was trying to use. I was trying to kill this kit. So I was kind of just challenging myself to stick to what I have and not necessarily be concerned about scrap lifting the entire page to a T. I just kind of let myself have the freedom to pick and choose things that either I liked or things that I worked. And this is something that I come across a lot, either when I'm using a sketch or, scrap lifting from somebody's page, or maybe just an inspiration piece. And that's just very typical for me personally, is sometimes I will heavily scrap lift something because as I was working on it, I continued to like the things that I was seeing and that I was doing. And sometimes I will shift gears in the middle and go a different way, either based on, the supplies that I have on hand was working better to kind of go my own way, or I was discovering things that maybe I didn't like after, trying to scrap lift the page myself. And I think that it's good to sort of give yourself that freedom to do that. So here I'm going ahead and putting down my photo, and I just tucked a little gold label sticker behind there. I was kind of trying to use up as many stickers as I could off of that little sheet, just because I hadn't had much of a chance to use them earlier in the month when I was working with this kit. I grabbed some crochet twine and tied it around the banner pieces that I cut and tied a little bow around it. And this is something that Jen does a lot on her videos, and I really like the sort of little bit of added interest and texture that it gives, and I'm finding myself pulling out crochet twine more and more. So I'm going to go ahead and put that down. And then I'm just trimming down these Simple Stories DIY die cuts just so that they're a little easier to layer underneath my photo. And then I'm going back for some more of that twine and just looping it through the tag and tying a bow up there. Just kind of wanted to add a little interest to that really plain tag and just kind of, give a little bit more interest to that section of the page, especially with those florals being so bulky and then a lot of stuff going on underneath the photo. And then I liked the way I had arranged the flowers, so I grabbed some glue dots and went ahead and put those down. And then I'm going to go ahead and start working on the lower left section. And again, I just am kind of working with what I had planned on using in this particular instance was a kit from 3 Scrappy Boys. So I'm just sort of using any of those stickers that I can incorporate and just kind of going with what I like the look of. I'm not looking at her page anymore because I already know that this section or this quadrant of my page is going to be completely different than hers, and I'm okay with that. And I added one of these phrase stickers to the side of my photo just to kind of bring a little bit more color up there with everything being gray. And then I'm going to go ahead and start working on the quadrant that has my title. And I went and grabbed these gray foam thickers. These came in a previous kit, but I tend to just keep all my like my current kit and my old kits together so that I can kind of mix and match things. And I just put them on my ruler, and then I sort of just smushed them all down at the same time. And then I did a really bad job, so I had to go back and just kind of line up my ruler and sort of realign the letters so that they were straight. I noticed with the foam ones, I love them, but they tend to get kind of stretched out when you're putting them on your page and manipulating them. And then these blue letters, I believe, are from Heidi Swap. They came with this kit. And the word girl I'm going to leave on my ruler because I have another one of those Simple Stories DIY die cuts that I need to run through my printer with just some information as far as what awards my niece had gotten at the end of her school year. So I went ahead and ran that through my printer. I'm going to go ahead and attach that down, and then the rest of my title is going to sort of be partially on top of that. And then I grabbed some enamel dots from a previous kit, and I just kind of went with colors that I had already used on the page. And I'm scattering those around. And then while I was doing this, I saw the rest of this package of enamel shapes from my mind's eye that I was trying to use up, and I really liked these little pink parentheses, and I just thought they looked really good on either side of my title. So I just had to scoot up those enamel dots real quick. And then I'm grabbing this school-themed stamp set, and I believe it's a Studio Calico set, and I'm just using the phrase grade, and I'm going to stamp it on that little tab for the index card that was in the die cuts. And I thought I was going to use that Mama Elephant ink, but the color was just kind of off, so I just grabbed this little Tide Pool cube from Hero Arts. And then I'm adding this little number 7 sticker and tucking it in there because this was the end of her 7th grade year. And then I'm just going to grab a roller date stamp and some smoke ink from Mama Elephant and go ahead and stamp the date on that index tab. And then I grabbed 2 craft photo corners for the bottom of the page, and this is another thing that Jen does a lot on her pages, and I just kind of went with it to sort of finish out the theme of scraplifting her projects. So I hope this inspires you to take a look. So I hope this inspires you to take another look at maybe pages you've pinned or printed out, and take supplies from your stash and just sit down and maybe try somebody else's style on for size, or use bits and pieces of their original work as inspiration pieces in your own. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.